this room. I wouldn't even classify as emerging artists. I mean, you guys are artists. So if we believe in that, we can make it. So kudos to you guys. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be quick. I mean, we're short on time. You know, we've got Copa America. People want to watch some football, so we're a bit strict on time, but it's all right. We'll keep it as smooth as we can. So I would like to start with Mr. Armstrong, Marcus. What an amazing piece, a short doc. We've obviously worked together on branding projects and other sorts of short films. But to me, I felt this one, you could sense the personal nature. You know, I'll let you speak for it, your relationship with Czar, and obviously the story.
Hello. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Well, I guess it is personal because Czar is my cousin. Super talented, and her story is that she reminded me of myself starting out, where you're in a state where you're working and you're trying to do your best, but you don't see yourself as an artist. And my whole family, we're like big fans of her. We're like, oh my gosh, she done this piece and that. Like all the work that she has done, like some of the work was shown in the doc, and she did a piece about me, like a painting, and I was like almost in tears. And yet she doesn't see herself as an artist. So I was just like, I do a lot of documentary work, and I just wanted to do something for fun, for myself and for my family. And I was like, hey, let me just come through, see your room, because there's so much art in your room, and just portray that. And funny enough, that is like one of the pieces that people come back and say like, oh, can you do something like this for us? Can you? And for her, she doesn't, like, even I'm gonna show her that like, hey, you know, people saw more, you know, you, right? And they love seeing you. And so it's just overall the message of like you said before, even if you're an emerging artist, you're an artist. You are creating, and you are putting yourself out there as an artist. Everyone up here is showing work. It is weird to see your work on a big screen. It's weird to see it in real life and shown to people, but it's important, and it's important to say and claim that you are an artist. So that was kind of where the piece was around, and hopefully it resonated with someone else.
And Marcus, did you feel that, well, first of all, wonderful answer. I just wanted to know, did you feel that since it was a personal tone, that it brought your work to another level, or was it kind of a different lens? Maybe you can talk about that kind of perspective and the difference to the other projects you work on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm trying to keep this short, but starting out, you always want to do, like, I mean, many beautiful work, beautiful horror, and I used to want to do like grandiose things and wanted to, oh, I want to make a film on just cowboys and aliens and all this craziness, and I realized, like, you know, getting older in general, I guess the importance and of just seeing the art in your own community, seeing the art right beside you. So that was kind of like why I feel like it resonates so much, is because you know, like I see her every day, and with her, she sees her art every day and doesn't really value it. And I think it's important as an artist to realize that your stories matter. Your stories are just as grandiose as the next big Hollywood film. It's just in a different light, right? So, and I feel like when you find that truth and you find that truth as an artist, that's where you excel. So, yeah, it was a nice little
Well said, well said. And working with you, I sense that passion. It's great. So moving on to the next film, Voodoo. So 48 hours to finish a short film. I mean, what a task. How was that experience? How is that different than doing a standard short film that you've done before?
Just a real quick overview of the structure of a 48 for anyone who might not know. It's from 7 p.m. Friday to 7 p.m. Sunday. The night of Friday, you're in pre-production, so you're writing your script. Saturday, you're filming the thing, and Sunday, you're post-production, so editing, color, sound, basically like it works like that. And the biggest difference between 48 is in a normal short film, you're sort of letting your creativity run wild, right? It starts with the kernel of an idea, a story, you write it, and then you figure out the details of producing it down the line. You figure out, I want my short film to take in a mall, so okay, we're going to go to a mall, right? My short film's going to have 7 characters, but you cast for those characters. A 48 flips that entirely, because all of those logistical aspects of production are determined before the 48 actually begins. Your location is locked in before you get your prompts on Friday night. Your cast and crew is locked in. And so you don't have a lot of the creative freedom to just write whatever you want when you get your genre and your character and your prop and your own dialogue on Friday. You're actually trying to sort of fit a round peg into a square hole in a lot of ways, which kind of limits your freedom and exercises like a really different part of your brain and creativity as an artist. So it's a real challenge, but one that I highly recommend. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to our amazing casting crew. Really fun.
That was great. There's actually a few of us at this table, well, more than half of us here that were part of the project. Funny enough. And so I just want to know, where did the inspiration come from for this sort of film, like sci-fi? I feel with sci-fi you can go in many different directions.
Yeah.
Like an ex machina or other kind of genres, subgenres. So why this one specifically?
So I like this. Like this. Now he's correcting me. He's getting revenge. So I'd love to be able to say, and explain like this rich world building and, sort of pretend that I'm Tolkien or George R.R. or one of these guys that has like this mythology going on. The reality is we got our prompts at like 7 p.m. and like started writing at 8 and it was done at 10. So just the nature of how fast things come together, you're sort of figuring it out as you go. I think there's some interesting parallels to be drawn to like these dystopian stories like Handmaid's Tale, where, in this futuristic society, there's tiers of status and everybody has their kind of role to play within that society. I think that's kind of like an interesting theme to explore. There's also, this like human cyborg hybrid thing going on that I think you rightly pointed out as, I'm flattered by the comparison to Ex Machina. I'll take that all day. So yeah, it draws from all different places, but really it's a child of kind of like the chaos of that Friday night when you go forward, where you're just trying to create something that resembles like a narrative with a start, middle, and an end, and you can pull off within the cast that you've got secured, within the locations that you've got secured, and like it's kind of a miracle that it came out the other end in like a somewhat coherent form. So yeah.
I think it came out more than all right, so you did okay. Good job. And and moving on to something more structured and I'd say even scripted, because with ours it was all running gun, and even altered the script on the day. But with Mike and Liam, I'm just curious how long this process took. What was kind of the production timeline, pre-production, and during production, and post. Then we can get into the fun stuff.
So we'll leave right here. This is good. So Liam and I were writing a feature film for a few months. We were the first draft, and we were out. I think we were at the library one day, and we were watching trailers, looking for some inspiration. And I just had the visual of that kind of one shot, the drop down. I thought that was really cool. And thank you. Really cool shot. And yeah, I just thought that was worth kind of looking into, and the whole idea kind of came from that. As far as like timelines, I mean, pre-production, we casted. The pre-production was tricky because we casted the most difficult demographics from like two minors, like Felix was 11, Harper was 16, stepdad, yeah, and like trying to make some people like look alike, so that was tricky. Production was 2 days, and post-production was several months. We have the post-production team here actually, editor, colorist, sound design, all out there. They killed it. And we're extremely patient with notes. It took a lot longer than maybe it should have. But yeah, we got notes. Did you want to add anything to that? No? Did I answer your question? Alright, cool.
And why the inspiration for horror? I'm just really curious. It seems like quite a big theme within your realm of filmmaking. So I just want to know what inspired this film. Are there other kinds of references that brought this about?
I feel like for indie filmmakers, the horror genre is a good genre to break into. When you go to theaters or see things on streamers, like you can get away with making a horror for cheap without a A-list cast. You're not going to go watch action or drama with people you don't know with a really low budget, where you will go watch a horror film with people you don't know with a low budget if it's done well. So that was kind of one reason, and then also I just find it easier to conceptualize those kind of twisted ideas. I've tried writing comedy. I've written a few comedy scripts, and I find it harder personally to punch out jokes than to come up with weird storylines. And yeah, and in horror too, you get the best of everything. You can make things funny. You can add drama. You just kind of tie it all together and pull people along with ridiculous concepts. And if you pull it off, it ends up being a fun watch. Yeah, any thoughts on it before? Okay.
So I do. Great answer. I know something for Liam though, because this was a bit of a change in your role. A little different from acting. So maybe explain that dichotomy and the differences in why you took on this challenge.
Okay, so yeah, coming from an acting standpoint to directing, the first easy answer is I think as everybody reads a story, they see it in their own way, and that is very appealing to me, especially as an actor when you get to work on sets and you're in scenes or doing something, perhaps you tend to still see it in your own way. So for directing, I think that was important to me. I was I always have so many ideas and thoughts when I'm working on something, or when I'm at home, or whether we're talking about something, or we're at the movies. So I just really wanted to express that, and it was a really hard decision for me to direct this film because. I think it was when Mike came up, we went to a movie and when Mike came up with the idea, we were walking back to the car. And it was super hard. He started explaining the idea, and I think before he could even finish it, I was like, I'll direct it. And it was just it was a tough decision. So there was a lot of inspiration and stuff that went on.
I love that. It was interesting the way you explained it. It's tough yet instinctual at the same time. So very cool. And certainly last but not least, Hosseini. So obviously we got a little sneak peek of your film, Roger. Maybe there's definitely one specific reference I can think of for this film, Training Day. So is that where the inspiration came from? And maybe is this things that you've seen in your real life? This kind of, obviously with drugs and certain people getting out of line. Maybe you can talk about kind of your personal experiences, or at least some other people that have shaped this film.
Yeah. So Yeah, you're right that Training Day was the main inspiration for this movie. The reason being because Training Day is my top 5 movie of all time. Denzel Washington's my favorite actor. I kind of wanted to pay homage to it. As to the other question about if I've seen it in my personal life, to be honest, like I'm the furthest away from like the crime life, to be honest. But I think that distance gives me it gives me a good chance of being more objective when it comes to dealing with those topics in my storytelling. And one other big piece of inspiration was not so much drugs and crime, it's more certain events that were going on at the time when I filmed this. So I conceived of this idea around 2-3 years ago, right in the dead middle of COVID and other like crises that was happening at the same time. And I kind of took inspiration from the George Floyd situation. Not like more in terms of how do people view other people, right? Like in positions of power. The whole point of Roger, like he's a really corrupted cop and he doesn't see any hope in criminals and homeless people and drug addicts. He kind of sees them as pests that need to be dealt with, right? But I wanted to kind of explore the psychology of that. Like he thinks that he's a hero. He sees himself sees them as like useless to society, right? They have to be eliminated so that the good people can thrive. And I thought it was interesting to see that clash of that nihilistic clash of seeing like, oh, certain people just don't deserve to live versus Arya's character, Ali, who has a very optimistic point of view that the police are there to help people. We should try our best and always be as good as possible. So I wanted to explore that ideological clash, and that was like the main thing that I was getting out of the film.
I really like that scene. And the one thing I noticed when we were on set, you have an interest in style of directing. You give a lot of autonomy to every crew and cast member. And that's something that stood out to me. Is that a style that you've always had, or are you still figuring out your method?
I think that's a style that I've always had, and the more I make films, the more experience I get. It's something that that's something that I'm starting to solidify my style on. I like being filmmaking that's informal to a certain extent. I like coming up with the basis of a character and then letting the actor run with it. I find it interesting to see what they come up with because the way I see it, like I can't think of every single possibility. Right? I always am open to what actors' suggestions have, and oftentimes they add to the story. Oftentimes I get new ideas. My brain is always turning. I get new ideas on the spot. So I kind of operate that way. It kind of annoys some crew sometimes because it's kind of like spontaneous, but I kind of like my films being spontaneous. I like the audience not knowing what will happen next and things just always be surprising. So I'm a big fan of stuff like that, twist endings, so that's definitely a big part of it as well.